What is going on, guys? Bunks here, and today I'm going to be showing you exactly how you can build your very own farm in No Man's Sky, which is going to generate you many millions of units every single day. Farming is an incredibly easy and quick way to get yourself very rich in No Man's Sky without doing any glitching whatsoever, and it doesn't take long at all to get all set up. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get stuck in. There are a few things that you will need to have before we can start building the actual farm, because if you want a farm that will generate you millions of units per day, you are going to need to have a lot of resources stacked up before you start building in order to build said farm. And in this video we are going to be building a lot of hydroponic trays, so you want to make sure you have plenty of stacks of the following resources to build loads of these. The first resource is pure ferrite. You're going to need 30 units of it for regular hydroponic trays and 60 units of it for large ones. With that said, I would say get at least one full stack of pure ferrite, maybe two, just in case, because you never know. So hydroponic trays require a good chunk of metal plating to build, so of course you want to make sure you have many stacks of these. Small hydroponic trays require 2 metal plating and large ones require 4. I would put stacks of metal plating into your high capacity exosuit inventory because the stacks are 20 rather than 10. And you'll want to have at least 10 stacks of this, I reckon, in your high capacity, or just keep creating more as you go along. It's totally up to you. Next up, you are going to need lots of carbon. Lots and lots of carbon. Large hydroponic trays require 50 units of carbon and small trays require 20 units of it. With carbon, you want to rack up at least 3 or 4 stacks worth of the stuff, and I'll tell you why you need so much more than pure ferrite in just a moment. And for actually handling the number of resources you're going to be growing on your farm, you are going to need a hazmat gauntlet, because lots of them can't be handled without it, so make sure you've got that. The blueprint for this can be found and purchased on board the Anomaly for a few nights, so if you don't currently have it, make your way up there and purchase it. So obviously having a large farm to generate so many millions of units per day will require a lot of power. And if your base, like mine, isn't on an electromagnetic hotspot, you are going to need to build plenty of solar panels and batteries to sustain the power that your farm is going to use. With that being said, you need to stock up on the following resources. Metal plating again, as each solar panel will need 1 unit of it. You are going to need a bunch of chromatic metal, at least 1 stack, I would say, perhaps 2, as each solar panel will need 50 units of the stuff. You are going to want to get yourself some gold, probably about 1 stack should suffice, as it takes 30 units of gold per solar panel that you're going to need to build. You are also going to need to stock up on plenty of magnetized ferrite, 1 perhaps 2 stacks of it, because each battery is going to need 60 units of it to build. Finally, for solar panels and batteries, you are going to need lots of condensed carbon to build the batteries, so as I mentioned before, get yourself loads of carbon stacked up and simply refine some of it to make condensed carbon for your batteries. Simples. If you find yourself on an electromagnetic hotspot and you are going to be powering your base with electromagnetic generators, you are going to need more metal plating, as each one requires 2 units of it, a good chunk of magnetized ferrite, as each generator requires 60 units of it, and finally a good chunk of chromatic metal, because each generator needs 75 units of the stuff to build. Next up, you're going to need to have blueprints for various resources that you'll be growing on our farm. And for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be showing the blueprints to what materials you need to craft them for the 4 most expensive resources, because we want to get rich as soon as possible, right? So the 4 blueprints you want to learn are the albumin pearl orb, which will grow albumin pearls, and they are worth around 10,000 units apiece. Nip Nip, which will grow Nip Nip buds, which are worth around 17,000 units apiece. A Gravitino host, which will grow Gravitino balls, which are worth around 40,000 units apiece. And finally, you want to learn the Venom Urchin blueprint, which will grow sac venom, which is worth around 60,000 units apiece. Now of course, learning those blueprints isn't enough. You need to have the required resources to start growing many of these on your farm. And I would probably get a full stack of each of these resources depending on how big you've decided to create your farm. If you gather a small chunk of each of these and then use the personal refiner duplication glitch to dupe these items, you will save a lot of time grabbing a full stack of these. So the resources you need to craft the 4 most expensive farm items are indium and paraffinium for the albumin pearls, chromatic metal, silver and magnetized ferrite for the gravitino host, nip buds and facium for nip, and finally emerald and gold for venom urchin. Whilst you're here folks, it would be totally awesome if you could hit those like and subscribe buttons, as there will be plenty more base building videos to come in the very near future, along with other No Man's Sky videos like amazing locations, glitches, news, tutorials and much more. So you don't want to miss out on those, right? Right, on to the building of the farm. Now I won't show you me building the entire farm from start to finish, as we'll be here all day and I'm sure you want to get back to building your own farm, so I'm just going to quickly go over what resources I've used and what I've built, so you can do the same thing if you want. So there are a couple of ways you can build a farm. You can, if you want, use biodomes, which are ready made to hold a few crops and are easily hooked up to power. Now these are useful, but I'm going to be creating myself a giant greenhouse instead because it can hold more planters than biodomes, which of course means more money. Aw yeah, let's get rich. So my greenhouse is going to be pretty big and have levels of glass walls up the side, so just make it feel a bit more roomy, you know, if you want to have a cramped farm. And with that being said, you're going to need a good amount of glass if you're going to also create a greenhouse. Anyway, as I've been waffling on, you can see me building this greenhouse, so now I'm going to go fast forward to it be completed and be ready for building the planters to grow our crops on. Right then, I'm going to place as many rows of large hydroponic planters as I can possibly fit in this greenhouse while still being able to walk up and down the side of them. Because this greenhouse is pretty damn big, that's a lot of planters that I need to place. I haven't counted exactly how many large planters are in here, but I reckon there's at least 80 to 100 of them. See what I mean by you need a lot of resources to actually build a large farm to generate millions of units? I'm also going to cover 2 of the walls in carbon trays because, you know, why not, eh? Who doesn't love a bit more greenery in their farms? And of course, it means I can stock up on carbon as and when I need to now. So now that I have all my planters and carbon trays in place, they will of course need powering up, and a farm this size does take up a lot of power. The first time round when I added a few extra solar panels and batteries, I thought, this should be plenty. Roll on night time and my entire base went dark due to the farm using far more power than I originally thought. So with that being said, if you've built enough solar panels and batteries or electromagnetic generators, maybe build some more, you know, just in case, because they do take up a lot of power. So once you've built your farm and have figured out how much power it uses and then of course powered it, it's time to start planting our crops, ready for them to generate us millions of units. Now as I mentioned earlier in this video, I'm just planting the 4 most valuable crops and ignoring the rest. You can do the same if you want, or you can plant a bit of everything depending on what resources you've currently got. It is totally up to you. So go ahead and plant these 4 crops and all the hydroponic planters that you've just built, or biodomes if you decide to use some of those. And if you've run out of resources before you've filled all your planters and biodomes, don't worry, you can always acquire more later. And now that you've planted all your crops, all you need to do is wait. Different crops take different amount of time to grow, but luckily for us, the 4 most valuable ones don't actually take that long. I believe the longest time you have to wait for one of these 4 to grow is about 4 hours in real time. So you can start making all those units very quickly once you've taken a small break. Or done a bit more exploring, depending on how much time you've got on your hands. Right then, once all your crops are fully grown and good to be sold, you want to make sure you've got a good amount of space in your exosuit inventory to store all these resources when you harvest them. And then of course you want to head towards a trade terminal to go and sell them. One thing I will mention is I added a trade terminal at my base, so on the off chance that I do run out of inventory space before I've harvested all of my crops, I can just walk next door, sell all the resources and then head back to my giant greenhouse to gather the rest, and repeat the same steps over again. Simples. Another thing I'd recommend you having on your base before you harvest and sell all of your crops at the trade terminal is a farmer. If you have a farmer on your base where you're growing crops, they will increase your harvested amount by a whopping 56%. Now that's something definitely worth doing, right? So as you can see, I've made myself quite a few million units from a farm the size of mine in just 4 hours time, and of course I can expect another fully restocked farm in just 4 more hours time to make that money all over again. So in theory I could do this 6 times a day, every day. Obviously that's not feasible because I can't be playing the game for 24 hours a day, but you get the idea. And of course, if your farm is bigger than mine, you'll be making more than me each time you harvest all your resources, so what's not to love about that? Now of course, this is only just the beginning when you get into farming with No Man's Sky, and there is so much more that you can do with it, like farming minerals to make yourself billions of units per day, and of course I shall be doing videos of these in the very near future showing you exactly how to do that. And that, folks, is how you build and power your very own farm in No Man's Sky and use it to generate many millions of units worth of crops every single day so you can become super rich in no time at all. And as always, folks, if you found this video useful, please hit those like and subscribe buttons so you never have to miss out on any of my future No Man's Sky videos. I do have many more base building videos lined up, along with amazing location videos, glitch videos, tutorial videos, and much more, so make sure you enable all notifications so you can see them all as well. Thank you for watching, and catch you next time.